So it's my honor and privilege to open the meeting. And I would like to call you to order the December 2nd, 2020 San Francisco Airport Community Roundtable at 7:01 p.m. We are meeting via teleconference pursuant to various orders issued by the San Mateo County Health Officer and the Governor's Office, which discourage large public gatherings. We're meeting via Zoom. Joining us today are staff of the Roundtable, Angela Montes, Roundtable Administrative Secretary, Janice Lujan, Executive Secretary, San Mateo County Planning Department, Michelle Rodriguez, Roundtable Coordinator, Justin Cook, Technical Consultant from HMMH. And we also have this evening, although I can't see all of you at this point, but Linda Woolen, Senior Legislative Aide to Supervisor Dave Pine, Kathleen Wentworth, Senior Advisor to Congresswoman Jackie Spear, Birkenong, and other staff members from the San Francisco Airport Noise Abatement Office, and Skylar Ron, FAA Community Engagement Officer assigned to this roundtable. At this point, Ms. Montes will explain how the public can participate in tonight's meeting.
Thank you. For those attending the meeting on the Zoom video conference, we will use the raise hand feature in order to organize any public comments. During the general public comment period and for each item on the regular agenda, I will ask those members of the public who wish to comment to click the raise hand feature to speak on that agenda item. For those joining by phone, please press *9 to indicate your desire to speak. When you hear your name called, we will prompt you to unmute your microphone and inform you that you may begin speaking. You will have 2 minutes. Please note that members of the public must wait for the prompt in connection with each agenda item before using the raise hand function. For example, you cannot raise your hand during item number 3 if you wish to speak on item number 5. Written comments that were submitted in advance will be read by me during discussion of the appropriate agenda item. And we would just like to remind all of our members to keep your microphone muted to avoid any background noise. Thank you.
Thank you. And we will now move on to the roll call.
Thank you. City and County of San Francisco Board of Supervisor. No response. City and County of San Francisco Mayor's Office.
President Eddie McCaffrey.
Thank you, Mr. McCaffrey. City and County of San Francisco Airport Commission.
Doug Yakel.
Thank you, Mr. Yakel. San Mateo County Board of Supervisors.
Dave Pine.
Thank you, Mr. Pine. CCAG Airport Land Use Commission.
Carol Ford, now unmuted.
Thank you, Ms. Ford. Town of Atherton. No response. City of Belmont.
Davina Hurt.
Thank you, Ms. Hurt. City of Brisbane.
Terry O'Connell.
Thank you, Ms. O'Connell. City of Burlingame. Not present at this time. City of Daly City. No response. City of Foster City. No response. City of Half Moon Bay.
Mr. Hindy's microphone is not working.
Oh, thank you. I see him, Mr. Hindy. City of Half Moon Bay. No response. City of Hillsborough.
You can have a quorum.
City of Menlo Park.
Cecilia Taylor.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. City of Millbrae.
Ann Schneider.
Thank you, Ms. Schneider. City of Pacifica. Mike O'Neill said he was not going to be present. City of Portola Valley.
Ann Weingart.
Thank you, Ms. Weingart. City of Redwood City.
Janet Borgens.
Thank you, Ms. Borgens. City of San Bruno. No response. City of San Carlos. No response. City of San Mateo. City of South San Francisco.
Mark Adiego.
Thank you, Mr. Adiego. Town of Woodside.
Tom Livermore.
Thank you, Mr. Livermore. At this point, we do have a quorum.
And I would just, sorry, through the chair, we do have a caller and their hand is raised, and I would like to unmute their microphone to check if that's any of our members. Give me 1 second.
Thank you.
And good evening, everyone. Ivar Satero, Airport Director, has joined.
Thank you, Mr. Sotero.
And actually, here is the member Royce as well. But caller ending in 811, you may speak.
Pamela DiGiovanni, Daly City. I couldn't get on. Somebody didn't unmute me.
Thank you, Ms. DiGiovanni.
Thank you.
Thank you. Back to you, Chair Weingart.
Thank you. We will now move into public comments for consent items or items not on the agenda. To begin, staff will read written comments and allow members of the public to speak.
Thank you. We did not receive any written comments for items not on the agenda. And as a reminder, if you wish to speak, you may use the raise hand feature or press *9. And I do see a couple hands raised, so I will pass on to Janet Lujan.
Thank you. I do see 3 hands raised for this item. First, I will call on Mark Scholl, followed by Jennifer L. Mark, please accept this request and begin speaking.
And I want to recognize that Al Royce has now joined us.
Sorry, I'm late. I'm here.
No problem.
Hi, Mark Schell from Palo Alto. I'd just like to ask that there be an update soon on the Surfer 5 arrival. The design appears to be done. There's even an FAA video to sell it to the public, although having seen it, I would argue that much of it is kind of misleading. Basically, the ground track shifts northwest, which will bring additional vectoring into Portola Valley, but the ground track is really not the story. It's quite steep, which will only increase the already huge problems of speed breaks and aggressive drag surfaces to slow and descend aircraft near the already noisy Eddy waypoint. This potentially could be smoothed out if the Surfer design team were coordinating with the GBAS design team, but that isn't happening. And I know GBAS is later, but the two are linked. I think it's fair to say that Surfer 5 bears only nominal resemblance to the conditions laid down by the Select Committee. The Roundtable should examine the Surfer 5 plan closely, as we do not need another experience and result like what happened with Pirate. And so I'd ask that it be on the agenda soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Scholl. I will next call on Jennifer L. Jennifer, please state what city you are calling from and accept my request to begin speaking.
Hi, thank you. My name is Jennifer Landesman, and I'm calling from, my city is Palo Alto. And it's a little bit related to the process of GBAS and the Surfer modification. I wanted to ask how the SFO Roundtable is addressing the environmental review process. And in October of 2017, Supervisor Pine provided an update about environmental review issues. And I believe there was an error in his presentation at the Roundtable that categorical exclusions are as a result of 2012 legislation. And I don't know if the Roundtable is aware that the 2012 legislative catex has never been used, and it would be worth exploring why. Because that one actually would have a condition to reduce fuel burn emissions and noise. So a regular vanilla catex is used where the standard is if there's a change of 1.5 in the 65 DNL, it constitutes significant impact. And I'm pretty much surprised that nobody is exploring changes in DNL for any of the procedures that are being put on the IFP gateway, because I would think that that's the highest priority, is to know what the DNL change is for any of the contours. So I think there are two sides to this. One is to understand the environmental review process and to have all the rules straight and understand which catexes are being used and what it means. And the other one is really about informing the public about the impacts that could affect them when these procedures are implemented. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jennifer. We'll next call on Liz Lopez. Liz, please state what city you are calling from and begin speaking.
My name's Elizabeth Lopez. I'm calling from San Francisco. I wanted to talk a little bit about communication. At a prior meeting, a roundtable member asked the FAA something to the effect of, do you communicate with people and communities? And I believe the context had to do with supersonic coming to the area and the heavy burden marginalized communities have had to withstand when it comes to airplane noise. So of course the FAA responded, yes, we communicate. What I wanted to say about that is it's a huge disservice to the communities you represent when you only ask closed-end questions. The reason being is that it only serves to temporarily pacify the public and officials, making it seem like the FAA is going to do something when that is not at all accurate, and it lets the FAA completely off the hook. And so even if you don't know exactly what to ask, what to follow up with, I would say just ask them to elaborate, ask them exactly how they're going to communicate, ask them when, ask them for examples, or ask your technical consultant for help to ask a good follow-up question. That would be really helpful, and I think many communities would appreciate that. As far as San Francisco community members are concerned, some have reached out to the FAA and got the same exact canned response email message months after they sent over questions to the FAA. Their canned response was inadequate and did not by any means answer their questions. But unfortunately, I believe it counts as communication by the FAA, and therefore they can never get a response to their questions because, like the FAA said, they will only respond once to the same letter. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lopez. Vice Chair, I don't see any more hands raised.
Thank you. With that, we'll now move on to this set agenda and approve the consent agenda, which includes item 1, airport director reports from September and October 2020, as well as item 2, minutes from the October 7th, 2020 regular meeting, and item 3, the roundtable budget for the 2021 first quarter actuals. Please note that one of the changes we'd like to propose this evening is to move some things around, and specifically I'll talk about that in a second, to accommodate 2 of the guests. If it's okay, if it's amenable to this group, I would like to take item 7, which is the update from the NOISE on FAA's Next Gen Advisory Committee first, as one of the guest speakers is calling in from the East Coast and has a limited window for participating this evening. After that, we'll start item 4. Hopefully at that point, Ricardo will be with us and he'll provide the chairman's update, and then we'll follow the rest of the agenda in order. So if we could, I would entertain a motion to set the agenda as described, meaning we're going to move to item 7. And then please state your name for the record and make a motion and allow the members to unmute yourselves.
Terry
Schneider. Oh, go ahead, Terry.
Terry O'Connell moves to amend the agenda and approve.
Carol
Second.
Ford moves to, oh, somebody else second? Well, there's lots of seconds then.
Yeah, I think that was Ann Schneider who second. Is there any
Yes.
further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Do we need a roll call?
Aye.
Just clarifying with the remote meetings, I'm sorry, we do have to do the lengthy vote, but I'll only call on those folks that have acknowledged that they're attending, and that would include Mr. McCaffrey, City and County of San Francisco.
Aye.
Thank you. City and County of San Francisco Airport Commission.
Aye.
Thank you. San Mateo County Board of Supervisor.
Aye.
Thank you. SeaCag Airport Land Use Commission.
Aye.
Thank you. City of Belmont.
Aye.
Thank you. City of Brisbane.
Aye, Terry O'Connell.
Thank you. City of Burlingame. He's not present yet. City of Foster City.
Yes.
I see you're working. Thank you. City of Hillsborough.
Yes.
Thank you. City of Menlo Park.
Yes.
Thank you. City of Millbrae.
Yes.
Thank you. City of Portola Valley.
Aye.
Thank you. City of Redwood City.
Yes.
Thank you. City of South San Francisco.
Yes.
City of Woodside.
Yes.
I think
Thank
you
you.
passed over, I believe you passed over Daly City.
Daly City
Thank
was
you. I'm here.
Daly, I do apologize. Thank you so much.
That's okay.
Thank you. Your
Yeah,
motion passes.
Pamela DiGiovanni. Thank you.
Thank you. Your motion
Thank you.
passes.
Terrific. So with that, let me move to item number 7. And item number 7 is an update from Brad Pierce. So welcome, Brad, who's the president of the National Organization to Ensure a Sound Controlled Environment. That's for the acronym of NOISE, of which this roundtable is a member. Mr. Pierce is also chair of the Centennial Airport Community Noise Roundtable in Colorado and member of the FAA Next Gen Advisory Committee. And he's here to provide us the FAA Next Gen priorities. Joining him today as well is Ms. Emily Tranter, Executive Director of NOISE and Lead Lobbyist for Policy and Government Affairs with Primacy Strategy Group of Washington, D.C. Mr. Pierce and Ms. Tranter, welcome, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much. I'll just jump right in unless Emily wants to say anything first.
No, Brad, please go ahead. But I just thank you so much for having us this evening. We did have a meeting as a part of National League of Cities 2 weeks ago that was only open for folks who were joining the National League of Cities. We will be having a robust noise meeting, virtual meeting in January or early February, and we will make sure that the roundtable gets those dates. We would love to have you participate. It will be to talk about our 2021 agenda, to make sure that our members are, have access, and, with all of the drawbacks of 2020 and COVID and our virtual world, one of the positives of this virtual world is that we can spend more time together coast to coast in these settings. So thank you again for accommodating my timeline this evening and for having us, and I will pass it over to Brad. And again, thank you, and look forward if anyone has any questions to assist with Brad. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this opportunity to talk to you all tonight about the Next Gen Advisory Committee. I think the introduction covered all the points I was going to make about myself, so I won't go into that. I just want to refer to some notes I have about kind of the background of the Next Gen Advisory Committee. The objective of the NAC is to provide independent advice and recommendations to the FAA and to respond to specific taskings. And that's important because a lot of the work that we do on the NAC is as a result of the FAA tasking the NAC with certain specific goals in mind. So the advice and recommendations relate to the concepts and requirements, operational capabilities, the associated use of technology and related consideration to operations that affect the future of the air traffic control management system. In addition, the NAC recommends consensus-driven standards for the FAA to consider when relating to the air traffic management system. So what is Next Gen? I think I'm probably preaching to the choir here when I talk about Next Gen, but the way I try to explain this to people, and you all are well aware of this, but Next Gen is a satellite-based navigation system for commercial jets mostly, as opposed to radar-based. So because it's satellite-based using GPS, it's very precise and very flights, as you know, are very concentrated. So the Congress has mandated that this next gen be implemented around the country. And they started doing this, I believe, in 2007, and they're supposed to be all finished by 2025. The goals are using new technologies to increase safety, efficiency, capacity, and access and predictability, and also to reduce environmental impact of aviation, which to me means you can encompass noise into that, that over-encompassing statement about reducing environmental impacts, but it also has to do with emissions. So the history of the NAC, and I believe that we just had a NAC meeting a couple of weeks ago, November 17th, and I believe the agenda is in your packet. You can refer to that at your leisure. But in every agenda, like just about every elected body, council meetings, and has a part of the agenda for public comment. So we've had some folks that spoke at this meeting speak at the NAC as well about issues that affect them. The NAC was managed by a consulting firm called RTCA. They would take care of all the logistics, all of the meetings, setting up the meetings, and all the stuff that goes along with the meetings. And then probably a year or so ago, the Trump administration decided that the RTCA would not be managing our group anymore, that the FAA would do that on their own, which they've done a great job of. And in terms of the membership of the NAC, the easiest way to find out who's on it is I just Google FAA Next Gen Advisory Committee, and there's about 30 people on this committee, including airlines, the airports, even the Department of Defense, manufacturers like Boeing and Airbus, some international folks from Europe, the labor unions, and air traffic control. So there's a lot of FAA people at these meetings. We meet probably every 3 to 4 months. Lately, of course, it's been all virtual. And I am the environmental person, they call me, because I represent, really what I do is I represent the communities at the NAC. And the NAC is kind of broken down into several different subcommittees. And I'll go to those in a minute, but one of those items that was completed in 2016 was this PBN blueprint that Emily, Executive Director of Noise, is actually a member of that blueprint committee. So then the NAC priorities are, there's 4 or 5 of them that are kind of standing priorities. They're multiple runway operations, surface and data sharing, performance-based navigation, or PBN, data communications, and the Northeast Corridor. So those are the kind of standing subcommittees. The Northeast Corridor is kind of an effort to deconflict the airports in Northeast United States, JFK, LaGuardia, Boston, Titosboro, Philadelphia, all those airports over there. So the objective there was to kind of deconflict all the traffic going in and out of those airports without building new runways, which we know is very difficult to do and takes a long time. The chair of the NAC now is Chip Childs. He's the CEO of SkyWest Airlines, which is a regional carrier. I believe they go in and out of FSO quite a bit. Recently, Noise, the group that I'm president of, made a request to the chair, Mr. Childs, to look at this PBN blueprint. As I mentioned, it's been about 4 or 5 years now that the blueprint was approved by the NAC. And we just wanted to talk about, with Chairman Childs, kind of have another look at that. Because really there is a lot of good stuff. You could probably Google PBN Blueprint for Success and find out all the things in there that the FAA does in terms of implementing NextGen and how the community engagement piece is involved in that. So we hear from our membership at NOIS that they would like to hear more directly about NAC's priorities. So that's part of the reason I'm here tonight, is to explain what the priorities are with these subcommittees I just mentioned. And so so what we have done is, let me go back a second. So the NAC is kind of what I term kind of a technical policy-based committee where specific airports, specific airports are not the main focus of what we talk about at the NAC. This is how is NextGen being implemented across the country. A lot of it has to do with equipage. The commercial planes have to have certain equipment to be able to do NextGen. That's a big discussion point. So it's kind of a high-level committee that kind of looks at the implementing or how the FAA should be implementing NextGen. So we wanted to bring this PBN Blueprint for Success back because A, there's a lot of new members on the NAC, and B, really hasn't been talked about for probably since 2016. So we also, I mean, the FAA at these meetings of the NAC, they are really, it's from my perspective, at the top of the FAA, making a real effort in terms of community engagement. So I just want to put that out there because it's really, to me anyway, there's a big push for that at the NAC in the last few meetings. So we want to, at NOIS, engage with the FAA executives and Chairman Childs when we made this request to him to kind of look at the PBN Blueprint again. He was agreeable to that, so it's a matter of taking the next step and meeting with the FAA executives on the PBN Blueprint. Now, Steve Dixon, who's now the FAA administrator, was a member of the NAC when he was in the private sector. So now when he was confirmed as the FAA administrator, appointed FAA administrator, he still attends NAC meetings, so he knows what we're all about. So I think it's great that Steve Dixon attends our meetings. So we want to engage our NOIS members like you all on the roundtable here at San Francisco to ask for any input or any suggestions about what we may be able to talk about when we meet with the FAA executives. So Emily and I are going to, and Chip and the FAA is going to, well, the FAA is going to set up some meetings for us to talk about the blueprint, the PBN Blueprint, and how we can engage NOIS members in that, including you all. And so I'm kind of looking or asking for suggestions or comments on what we might, from the NOIS perspective, bring to the FAA in terms of NextGen and implementing that. So those are my comments.
I just want to add, you definitely don't have to come up with ideas right now. I think we wanted to make sure that you understood that we want to be, from our membership's perspectives, that our membership is being represented well at the NAC and that we're taking input from you all. And so part of what that meeting in January or early February that I mentioned is will be a little bit further update on those, but also we'll be doing offline we can discuss or have input, but making sure that during that time we have a robust membership discussion of what kind of is happening and where if that feedback has continued to be good about revisiting the PBN Blueprint, what things need to be included in that. So, any policies that you all are seeing as a roundtable that the FAA is doing or needs to improve upon, to include that. And we can, bring that and say, this is what we're hearing from our members. We need to make sure this is captured in a NAC recommended policy to the FAA if it's designed to be the blueprint for success for implementation. So, I mean, we would love your, comments at any point in time, but certainly, this, we have a little time and can revisit and spend, some time thinking about this over the next several months. And I just wanted to reiterate that, so that we, understand that this is an ongoing process. So.
Oh, thank you both, Brad and Emily. And I think as a next step, probably on this discussion this evening, would be to open it up for questions or comments from members of the roundtable. So I think at this point, I'll swing it back over to Michelle and the team to really see who would have questions from within the roundtable group or comments. Either way, I think let's start there.
Thank you. We do have Vice Mayor Schneider's hand raised.
Thank you. Thank you, Vice Chair. And thank you, Mr. Pierce and Ms. Tranter for attending. This is exciting. Are you only soliciting comments about NextGen or any of the other issues that we're working on? Do you want to hear about those? If not tonight, then in another way.
I mean, certainly we want to hear from our members what issues you all are dealing with, because that's part of the benefit of our organization is hearing from our membership and sharing best practices, sharing issues across the membership body. I think that's one of the benefits, which as I said, we will have that opportunity more robustly in this virtual platform in the beginning of next year. For this purpose, for NAC, they're really our next gen focused, but short answer to your question, absolutely. Anytime we are open to input, discussions, things that would be meaningful to your roundtable on any issue that the noise organization can be sharing with others, can be considering, can be thinking about. That is what makes us great is our membership and hearing what's happening on the ground.
And I want you to know that the first week that I met, Ms. Tranter and I met, and every 2 weeks we meet one-on-one. And so we've had a variety of exchanges about all of the current work that we're doing, including everything that's on this agenda, the GBN and, the strategic plan and all of that. So she's definitely being looped in. So I just wanted to make sure that they knew that.
Without taking too much time on our agenda, then I would just say that we have a ground-based noise committee. We've been established now for 2 years. We have our first modeling study that will be reported out later tonight. And I am starting to get emails from other noise groups around the country. They just started popping up in my in-tray. I can't speak for the other members on the ground-based noise committee, but I think we would love people working on similar issues, same issues would be very, very, very useful.
And okay. I think the meeting Emily mentioned next year, just kind of a noise meeting early next year to invite as many groups or individuals as we can. Like you mentioned, there's all these groups around the country that pop up or you just find out about. I mean, here in Colorado, there's a new roundtable being formed at the Rocky Mountain Regional Airport, which is a GA airport. And so, we've been in communication with them. There's people in New York and all over the country that are really experiencing kind of similar issues that we at Noise want to hear from everyone and be a resource for them and try to, at least learn about their issues and then, go from there. But I think this next meeting next year of Noise is really going to be nice because you get all of these different people from all around the country to attend, and then we can hear from them.
Excellent. Very exciting. Thank you.
And Chair Weingart, we scheduled about another 4 minutes for this item, just so you know, in terms of the packed agenda. So I don't know whether there needs to be a recommendation for some kind of a subcommittee meeting in between this and the next meeting in February to kind of talk about the larger issues. I could get the blueprint and we can kind of look at it and talk about how does that relate if you approve your strategic plan tonight, and try to talk a little bit more about a communication back to Noise if it's not just our strategic plan, if there's other outlying issues that we can communicate to them, and also get you information for the February meeting.
Thank you. And I think the only thing I would add is that to make sure we allow for any other questions from the roundtable members before we move to that. But you've just clarified what I was thinking about was whether this is appropriate for the strategic plan subcommittee. And it sounds, again, that that's probably the right next step for this group following tonight's discussion, to have them review it and obviously work on the set of priorities and comments back to the noise commit, to Brad's group, Brad and Emily's group. But before we do that, quick question, and then I'm going to turn it over to the chair at the end of this item, who's with us now. But are there other questions or comments from members of the roundtable?
Yes, we do have member Alroy's hands raised, and I do want to just welcome Ricardo Ortiz to our meeting.
Well, thank you, Mr. Pierce. I appreciate you being here. A quick question. You mentioned that you're responsible, or you advise a lot on environmental impact. Could you elaborate on that a bit? Exactly what do you advise? What do you do? What is the impact of noise pollution with respect to the standards being set? And what's your recommendations? And do you get involved in lobbying some of the bills that are being proposed with respect to noise pollution?
Yeah, thanks for the question. So they call me the environmental representative, which is kind of a misnomer, but that is it, be that as it may. So in terms of emissions at the federal level, I think that is something that we work with Congress on, or staff. Emily spends a lot of time with staff of the Congress to work on noise issues, including emissions. Somebody mentioned earlier tonight about supersonics. That's something we talked about as well. But in terms of the emissions, Emily, I don't know if you have anything to add on the emissions end, but it's like that's one of the goals, I think, of Next Gen is to reduce emissions along with fuel economy and all those other things. So Emily, didn't know if you had anything else to add on the emissions.
Yeah, I mean, I think, noise has been fairly focused on noise over our, almost 50 years because of the very unique impact and kind of specific impact. However, the two go hand in hand. And so we do, we are approached all of the time, and we do engage with members of Congress on the Quiet Skies Caucus who care about emissions issues and the impacts on their airport adjacent communities. And so it's not traditionally been a part of our federal agenda or federal priorities to highlight emissions. But again, the two go hand in hand. We do sit on Ascent, which is the Center of Excellence for Renewable Fuels. And they have studies going on. They're the academic body of the FAA on noise and emissions and on renewable fuels. So it has not been a main focus of ours over the years, but as the issues grow and as our members care about it, we certainly are paying attention to the national lobby on it.
The other thing I would add real quick is that there's a company in Colorado at Centennial Airport working on electric planes. It's called Buy Aerospace. So they are, they've been working on 2-seat and 4-seat private planes that run, with no noise at all or no emissions because they're electric. So that's something that's in the works.
Okay. Well, I thank you. I was just interested whether or not it's purely the pollutant impact or also the noise pollution side of it. And it sounds like you're trying to address both aspects of it. Is that correct?
Yeah, right.
Okay. And by the way, until noise pollution is at the same level as efficiency in terms of the goals, I think we have an uphill battle. So any work you can do to help us achieve that goal of making it at the same level would be much appreciated.
Yeah.
I wanted to make a comment. There are lots of companies in the Bay Area that are also working on electric motors for airplanes. One of them is Joby, and they have a $400 million investment from Toyota, and it's at the airport in Monterey. But there's more than that. That's just one.
Thanks. That's fascinating.
Angela, do we have any other hands from members of the roundtable?
We do not have any more hands from members.
Okay, so before we end this item, and I'm very cognizant of your comments, Michelle, that I will open it to the public for any comments or questions, and hopefully you'll be able to stay well within the 2-minute time limit. Do we have any members of the public who'd like to comment just on item 7?
Hi, I see 3 hands raised for this item. I'll go ahead and call on Darlene Yapley. Darlene, please state what city you are calling from and accept my invitation and begin speaking.
Darlene Yapley from Palo Alto. In the last meeting packet was included the letter that the Quiet Skies Caucus members sent to Administrator Dixon before the September meeting that they had with them. This included Jackie Spear, Anna Eshu, Panetta, and so on. And really the letter was pushing back on the insufficient study that the FAA did on the DNL metric and the 65 DNL standard. All of us are quite interested in this topic because until the FAA makes changes to these, we are not seen as having a significant impact. So all the noise we're having does not register for the FAA as having significant impact. Mm-hmm. So my question, given that this letter was sent and it's a very high interest, is what do you think we can do next to sustain the focus and really get the FAA to do a thoughtful and objective study on the true impacts of noise? Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we keep our comments to the next gen, please? Thank you.
And that's a long answer to that would be a long answer, but it is a #1 priority for the noise organization.
Emily, we're not going to respond to the members of the public. We're going to take comments, and I'll make sure that you get the minutes. And then if you guys want to coordinate, then we can do that.
Wonderful. Okay,
and I want to focus just on next gen right now.
Thank you, Michelle. I do see 2 more hands raised for this item. Next, it's Mark Scholl, followed by Jennifer L. Mark, please state what city you're calling from, accept my invitation, and begin speaking.
Hi, Mark Scholl from Palo Alto. You may or may not know Palo Alto is not allowed to be a member of the San Francisco Roundtable, so therefore I can't have my question answered. But so I'll follow up, but I do think it's worth noting, and I've spoken about this, at the NAC several times. Probably the thing that affects us most on arrivals is really multiple runway operations more than PBN itself. And I guess the question I have is, will the review of the PBN blueprint also include multiple runway operations to some extent, and will it take potentially some recommendations related to that? I'll follow up directly with Emily on this just to kind of get an answer. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mr. Scholl. And next we have Jennifer L. Jennifer, please once again state what city you're calling from, accept my invitation, and begin speaking.
Thank you. And thank you, Emily and Brad, for the update today. I wanted to remind everyone that Vision 100, this is a statute, the law in 2003, and FAA reauthorization, which I believe is what NextGen has as a goal to reduce fuel burn, noise, and emissions. So what I have noticed is that those goals that were sold as, sort of the pitch for NextGen, and which is likely what, Congress was thinking, that this was all going to be all good, has all of a sudden noise gets dropped from it. And so it's sort of just emissions, but it's not this or that. So it's sort of like everybody's having carve outs, but NextGen, anything that's related to NextGen is supposed to have environmental goals. And so I'll give GBES as an example. While airports are not discussed at the NAC, you have very specific procedures that are affecting citizens in the Bay Area that are listed as NAC priorities in their procedures list, because the FAA asked them for those priorities and they're there. So the roundtable is looking at it as something that is not going to have an impact, but any capacity increase for any airport or things like multiple runway operations are an increase in impacts. So they merit a higher level review than nothing, which is what the public is getting. Absolutely no estimates of what projected noise or emissions or anything is that are going to happen. So I think there needs to be a lot of work about looking at the history of how NextGen evolved, what the goals are. And I would say challenge officials to hold the FAA and Congress for what the original goals were. Thank you.
Thanks for your comment. I do see one more hand by Mr. Peter Grace. Mr. Grace, please state what city you're calling from, accept my invitation, and begin speaking.
Peter, are you there?
Peter, you're on mute.
Yeah, I don't think his microphone is working.
Okay. Why don't we, in the interest of time, move on? And I think at this point, Emily and Brad, thank you both very much. I think it was a terrific start. And I think as we were indicating, and Michelle, I think, suggested, we'll move this probably back into the strategic planning portion subcommittee of the roundtable to take this up further. But thank you. I do have one final question for you. Is there a timing deadline on this? I know you referred to the January, February meeting. Would the deadline be to try and have our comments in advance of that meeting?
I think that would probably be best, just so that we make sure that, you know, if the FAA moves and gives us an opportunity, we've made sure to glean your input. But we are in the next week, you know, finalizing the date for that January or February meeting. So once that is set, I will circle back and say, you know, this is what a better timeline would be. So we'll work backwards from that.
Perfect. And Michelle will take it from there to schedule here. Well, at that, what I want to do is turn it now over to our Chair Ortiz. And just for your edification, Ricardo, we need to move back and approve the consent agenda before moving on. We moved right to item 7.
First of all, thank you so much for covering. I had another meeting with the city that I had to be in, so I apologize for my tardiness. And with that, we'll move up back to item number, I'm sorry.
It'll be item number 4. We completed the consent calendar.
Very good. So item number 4. So do we need to go back and vote on the agenda, Michelle?
No, that's all completed.
That's
the only item that was moved is this item 7, and we're going now to item 4 and on with the regular agenda items.
Very good. Okay, so item 4.
So we did not approve the consent agenda.
No, we didn't.
That was the whole second vote we took.
I think that was only to move the agenda, Michelle. The vote we took was to move item 7 ahead. So we did not vote on the consent agenda.
So
that's my misunderstanding.
So let me go back to the consent agenda. Are there any members of the roundtable that would like to pull one of the consent items? And any members of the public who would want to pull one of the consent items?
Chair, I see Vice Mayor Schneider. Yeah, go ahead.
Vice Mayor Schneider.
I just had one question. And I thought, and correct me, Councilwoman Giovanni, she was at our October meeting, but she's listed as absent.
Thank you, Ms. Schneider. Vice Mayor.
And you were there, right, Member Giovanni?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, and I do believe I remember, yeah, so Angela, if we could correct the minutes to reflect that, that would be great.
Thank you to both.
Any other comments? And if not, we'll move to public. Any member of the public wishing to pull the agenda, an item from the consent agenda?
Chairman Ortiz, I do see Peter Grace, his hand is back up. I think his microphone was not working earlier. I don't know if you want to go back and see what he has to say, or do we want to?
Okay, I think we have a very heavy agenda, Mr. Grace, so I'll give you an opportunity a little further along. But right now, if your comment is regarding the consent agenda, I will entertain that. Otherwise, we need to move along. So, Mr. Grace, if you're muted, let me know if you're good with that.
Hi, this is Peter Grace. It is part of the consent agenda.
Okay, so you have an item in the consent agenda that you would like to pull.
Yeah, number 2, the minutes.
Okay, very good.
What would be really helpful, we're very lucky indeed to be able to have our meetings recorded and then put up on YouTube. So I'm wondering whether it's possible in the minutes next time to go and say at what time within the YouTube video each major item is starting to be addressed. I feel this is equivalent to having a textbook where we have a list of the items or the chapter headings, but we have no page number. It would really help people like me and others, be able to go back and review more easily where, say, item 4, item 6 was addressed. So I'd like to see date stamps on the minutes that match the times on the YouTube video. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Grace. I think that's a very good point, and I think we should could look into that. So we will, again, I know that the City Council, we have that where the timestamp is on each one of the items. So I know it's possible. The question is how expensive it is, so we'll have to look at that. Thank you for the comment, and with that, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I so move with the amendment to the minutes is suggested by Vice Mayor Schneider.
Thank you, Mr. Member Royce. Do I have a second? I heard like 7 seconds. I'm going to go with Member Livermore. So we have a motion from Member Royce and the second from Member Livermore. Can we do the roll call, please?
Yes, focusing on those that I had attendance for. Member McCaffrey.
Yes.
Member Sotero.
Yes.
Member Pine.
He's mute.
Okay, Mr. Supervisor Pine.
Member Ford.
Yes.
Member Lewis. Thank you.
Member Lewis.
Elizabeth Lewis is not with us tonight.
Great.
Member Hurt.
Aye.
Member O'Connell.
Aye.
Thank you. Member Ortiz.
Yes.
Thank you. Member Dio Giovanni.
Aye.
Thank you. Member Hindi.
Yes.
Thank you. Member Royce.
Yes.
Thank you. Member Taylor.
Yes.
Thank you. Member Schneider.
Yes.
Member Weingart.
Yes.
Thank you. Member Borgens.
Yes.
Member Adiago.
Yes.
Thank you. Member Livermore.
Yes.
Thank you. Your motion passes.
Thank you very much. So with that, then now we're moving on to item number 4. And the first item, this is the chairman's update. So the first thing I want to ask everybody who's on to please remain till the end. We have some very important votes. Please, if you're going to drop off, please let us know. We do have issues with the quorum tonight. And I really ask that you stay to the end so that we can get these votes taken care of. With that, we did have a request from Member Borgens and from members of the public to add Palo Alto to the roundtable membership. And we will discuss that a little further down in the agenda. In response to a comment made earlier about we're not letting Palo Alto in, we are considering it. We have considered it in the past. We have discussed it in the past and decided against it. We do spend quite a bit of time listening to concerns from the city of Palo Alto, and in most cases we address them and respond to them. So just didn't want to let that sit there. And including one of the items that was brought up is the Title 21, which we have requested an update from SFO staff to the technical working group. And we will get back with more information on that. And now I turn to any comments or questions from members of the roundtable. And having none, then we will turn to any comments or questions from members of the public.
I do not see any hands raised for this item.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm trying to open this. So with that, I'm going to item number 5. And I'm trying to open my resolution here that I'd like to read. So my friend Ann Wengner and my friend Janet Borgens are both, and I'm really sad to say, are both dropping off. And this is their last meeting with the Roundtable. And their involvement with this region, with this community, with everybody, it's just amazing. So I am going to read my resolution for Ann Wenger, who's been involved with the Community Roundtable. And I'm sorry, I'm looking for it and I'm having a little trouble here.
Please let me know if I can read it.
Michelle, would you please? I'm having trouble opening it up. I don't know why.
Absolutely.
It's page 26.
Here we go. This is resolution number 20-03 of the San Francisco International Airport Community Roundtable. Resolution to express sincere thanks to Ann Weingart for exceptional service as a member of the San Francisco International Airport Community Roundtable. Whereas the San Francisco International Airport Community Roundtable was established in 1981 to provide a forum for the public, local elected officials, airport managers, federal aviation administration, and the airline representatives to address community noise issues related to airport operations at San Francisco International Airport. And whereas Ann Weingart has been a member of the Portola Valley Town Council since 2007 and is retiring from public office after 17 years of public service. And whereas Ann Weingart has been instrumental in providing consistent and dependable leadership, opinion, and foresight during her tenure on the Roundtable, including as vice chair since January 2019. And whereas Ann Weingart has represented the citizens of the town of Portola Valley, the county of San Mateo, and the city and county of San Francisco on numerous key Roundtable subcommittees, including as liaison to the Santa Cruz, Santa Clara County Roundtable. And whereas Ann Weingart ably served as a member of the congressionally mandated Select Committee on South Bay Arrivals and developed expertise in numerous flight procedures. And whereas Ann Weingart is recognized by her colleagues and constituents as an engaged community leader, now there be it resolved that the members of the Roundtable do hereby express their sincere appreciation to Ann Weingart for her tireless efforts in working with airport officials, government officials, airlines, and the community on successful airport noise mitigation policies in Greater San Francisco Bay Area, unanimously passed, approved, and adopted by the members of this Roundtable on December 2nd by Chair Ortiz.
So again, not enough words to say what your involvement has meant to this Roundtable, to the Select Committee, to the city of Portola Valley. And to me personally, I've just really enjoyed working with you. You've been always on point and always a pleasure to deal with. So thank you, Ann, and I will truly miss you.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Ricardo. And all I will say is it's been an honor and a privilege to serve with all of you. So thank you and continued good luck in the future.
Thank you very much. Any members of the public would like to comment? I mean, any members of the Roundtable would like to comment? And having none, then heartfelt thank you. And
I'm sorry, Chair. We do have 3 hands raised from members.
Oh, please. I'm sorry. Go ahead then.
Vice Mayor Ann Schneider, followed by Supervisor Dave Pine.
And I just want to say thank you. In my 5 years, you have always been marvelous and gracious and helping we newcomers learn how to do things. I am going to miss you greatly here and on the CCAG BPAC meeting. I wish you the best of luck and, you know, come say hi now and then. And when we can finally get together again, I would love to buy you a drink.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Okay, and I got my agenda open. Michelle, do we have
Supervisor Pine?
Okay.
Yes, and we will miss you. I will always fondly remember our time serving together on the Select Committee on South Bay Arrivals. I mean, those were the days in some respects, and Learned so much serving with you, and you did a wonderful job, representing Woodside and Portola Valley and all the people affected by airline noise. And it was just a pleasure to serve with you and go through that really intense process together.
Councilmember Hindi.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think Supervisor Pine just summarized exactly my sentiment. But Ann, thank you so much for your service to our community. It really has been a pleasure working with you, and especially on the select committee. That was a very very enriching experience, if I may say so. And I hope if we reach out to you, you take my call. I will definitely would love to get your expertise once in a while here there. Thank you.
Thank you all. And I know you need to move on. So again, thank you. And I will be available.
And Michelle, I'm still having trouble opening what, Carol, you said what page was that on?
It was 26 for Ann's resolution.
Okay, and Michelle, do we have a resolution for Janet?
We do. Can I read that now?
Please, I'm still having issues with my
I understand. Resolution number 20-02, San Francisco International Airport Community Roundtable Resolution to express sincere thanks to Janet Borgens for exceptional service as a member of the San Francisco International Airport Community Roundtable. It introduces the roundtable and thanks her for her service as a member of the Redwood City Council since 2015, and whereas Janet has represented the citizens of Redwood City and the county of San Mateo and the city and county of San Francisco at numerous key roundtable subcommittees and has been instrumental in providing consistent, dependable leadership, opinion, foresight during her tenure on the roundtable, and whereas Janet Borgens has ably served as chair of the legislative subcommittee and as such has championed roundtable advocacy on federal legislation, and whereas Janet Borgens is recognized by her colleagues and constituents as an engaged community leader, and now be it therefore resolved that we unanimously pass, approve, and adopt this resolution in appreciation for her tireless efforts by Chair Ortiz.
And again, Janet, it's been a true honor and a pleasure working with you. I thank you for everything you've done, and I'm going to miss you too. So this is a very sad day for us, and we really appreciate everything. Any members of the roundtable who wish to comment?
Ann Schneider.
Janet, I'm going to be heartbroken too with that. I think the city of Millbrae and the people of Millbrae are also very grateful. You always did more than representing your residents. You looked out for all of us, and you were a tiger on the legislative committee and on the strategic planning committee. I am very grateful for all of your help. And again, I owe you a drink when we can finally see each other. And best of futures.
I'll buy the second round.
Supervisor Pine.
And Janet, I wanted to thank you for all your work on the roundtable and as a council member in Redwood City. And on the roundtable, it really was a great move on your part to get the legislative committee going. I mean, I think we all fundamentally understand that so much of our destiny is in the hands of Washington, and legislation is more important here than in most of the areas we deal with. And it was really important for you to kind of put that back on the agenda. So thank you.
And we do have a hand raised from Carol Ford.
I just want to say thank you so much, Janet. I also am a resident of Redwood City, so I doubly appreciate your efforts on this board, and I'll miss working with you and seeing your shining face. And I think not only about the drinks, we also need hugs when we can get back together.
Wanted to recognize a member of the public, Sue. I'm not sure if she has her hand up for this item or another item. I'll leave that up to staff.
Oh, that's Sue Degree, probably for this item.
Yes.
Sorry, Chair.
Are we going to let her in?
Hello, can you hear me?
She's back.
Oh, hi. Yes, I didn't want to miss an opportunity to say thank you with great admiration and appreciation to both board members that are leaving. Not only did you represent your communities, but also all of us. I felt very comfortable that you would understand the point of view of all of us. And you're both very outspoken. And we attended very many other meetings besides the normal one every month, all those subcommittees. And I appreciate both of you making sure that I did not get lost in the airport when we had meetings there. That was a very big, important thing, as I would have missed the meetings. And for Janet, I really appreciate your being a tiger, as they say, on the legislative committee. And I hope that the roundtable continues that legislative committee. I think it's extremely important because, yes, Congress and Congress controls the FAA, and without them, we can't do too much. So keep up the hard work, and I really appreciate it, and stay in touch.
Thank you, Sue. Great to hear your voice.
Thank you.
And Kathleen Wentworth has her hand up.
Thank you. I know you're running late, so I'll just say to both of you, wonderful members, you've been just amazing assets to the roundtable. Janet, I so enjoyed working with you on the legislative committee. You just were such an advocate, not just for your community, but for all the communities and all of the noise concerns that we all are working on. And you were a great advocate. I'm going to miss that opportunity as we start the next legislative session in January. Ann Weingart, what can I say? Going back to the select committee days, you were just a marvel, I don't have words enough to say how great it was to work with you and what great advocate. And I think you were always surprising the FAA with your insightful questions. You were a pleasure and a joy to work with. You'll be missed, both of you ladies. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wentworth.
Thank you. There are no more hands raised.
Very good. Okay, with that, do we need to open this to public comment? So let's see if there's any public comments. I think we already had Sue, so having none, we will move on to item number 6. And thank you. Moving item number 6 is the San Francisco Airport Commission, the director's report. At this time, we have specifically asked for an update on the SFO strategic plan and development plan, the noise action plan, the sound insulation program, and answers to questions brought up last month on the new WebTrack app. Mr. Sartera, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Good to be with you all tonight. I'll give you a few updates, and I know my team is here to delve deeper into some of those items. Certainly, the Thanksgiving travel season was unlike none we've ever seen before. We continue to be well below last year at this time levels, actually operating at about 20% of where we were last year at this time. Interesting that operations aren't down as much as passenger loads are. Operations are still at about 50%, 55%. So you still see more activity in the air, but the load factors contribute to the low passenger loads that we're seeing because the load factors are below 50. We do have one bright spot in load factors that I'll talk about in a bit, but because we're not seeing this recovery that we anticipated and trying to make good decisions, timely good decisions, and I've briefed you before in our capital program, we continue to adjust our capital program as conditions warrant. And so we are deferring another 20 projects, lower priority projects, and reducing our capital program by about another $1.3 billion. So our Ascent program started at 7.4, it's down to about 5.4 right now. And we'll work with the cash we have in hand to finish the most critical projects. We are still committed to many critical projects around the community, around sea level rise. We still are committed to our shoreline protection program, working closely with adjacent communities as well. We can't be successful unless we're all working together on that. And the notice of determination of the environmental impact report, it has been routed to the San Francisco Planning Committee and is posted on their website. We are also moving forward. I know we're going to talk a little bit more maybe about the ADP with staff and would certainly respond to any questions, but we are moving forward with the EIR. However, it is delayed, and we anticipate the timeline for the EIR now to be in 2022. And I'm also committed to funding the noise insulation program, and we'll talk more about that. I do want to talk a little bit about COVID testing at SFO. We have been, I think, successful in our initial COVID testing. We opened it in July to really allow for employee use of that, to ensure we have a safe work environment for the 20,000 employees that work at the airport. And because we had good experience and were able to scale up that operation, we were able to take advantage of that testing to support these Hawaii flights from United. And really great results out of those Hawaii flights, and load factors started at above 90% in the initial couple days of launch. And we still see them hovering above 70% for those Hawaii flights. So there is such a pent-up demand we're seeing with leisure destinations, and this COVID testing gives some assurance of safe travels and avoiding those quarantines that are now in effect in many different areas. We also have worked with United on expanding testing. So there is a drive-through testing site as well at SFO. PCR test is offered there. And we have the COVID rapid ID test, which is that 15-minute results. We're also looking at expanding it. You know, a number of airlines have come to us and said, we'd like to also take advantage of the testing at SFO. So we are looking at in-terminal expansion of testing and using available facility, our international terminal, potentially in our check-in aisles. We would be able to check in folks or do testing at a greater scale within our terminal facilities as well, which would help support some of these new airlines. And really, we're trying to drive a model of COVID-free flights to the extent possible, and working with other airports and airlines on how to partner in this manner. And we're fortunate to have been the first airport to offer on-airport testing and really leverage that, that asset we have. Talking a little bit about new airline service, we did have a launch to Cancun from JetBlue, again, trying to take advantage of some pent-up demand in leisure travel. And I believe I talked about last time a flight, a brand new airline, Qatar Airways to Doha. That service starts in December 15th, and it'll operate 4 times a week at 12:55 arrival and a 5:55 p.m. departure. Noise insulation program. I think we have a presentation later on, and we'll be reporting on the acceleration of this work and our commitment to get as many homes done and take advantage of as many federal dollars as possible, and also committing airport dollars to making sure we are able to really serve the community with this program. And as many of you know, we started our own independent program of the FAA to help those that didn't qualify under the FAA's guidelines. So we'll talk more about that, and we will be enlisting some of your help with trying to get better response, because we are running out of homes in certain categories to insulate. And of course, I'm committed to this program, even with the difficult financial circumstances that we find ourselves under. And I know my team is here, and they'll talk more about that. And then finally, on GBAS, we made a presentation to the technical working group, and we will be presenting to the Santa Clara Santa Cruz community roundtable at the request, I think, of the community to be kept up to speed on that work as it goes forward. And I just want to reiterate that we are making that firm commitment both to move forward with GBAS, but to not implement any procedures that will have a negative impact on any community. Excuse me. And just one other note related to community impacts is we were really excited by our FBO operation. That's the operator at the airport, their signature airline, Signature, and they support all of the general aviation operations into and out of SFO. So private aircraft, corporate aircraft, that kind of thing. And they've made that commitment because of what SFO has done over the past 3 years in providing infrastructure for sustainable aviation fuels to only deliver 100% SAF to all aircraft operating out of that facility. And so that is a great movement in that category of aircraft to benefit from sustainable aviation fuel and helping move the industry, particularly in the GA categories, towards a more sustainable future. And I think, as many of you are aware, that is a a key initiative of the airport because of its environmental benefit around reduced GHG by up to 60 to 80% and reduced particulate matter in similar levels. So with that, and I'm driving that same kind of initiative at a national level. I'm the chair of the Gateway Airports Council. We are connected with U.S. Travel, and I've asked U.S. Travel to make sustainable aviation fuel one of their key legislative priorities for the next year. And with that, that ends my presentation. I'd be glad to answer any questions before we get into staff presentations.
Thank you. Any members of the roundtable that have any questions for the airport director? I see Member Borgens with her hand up.
Thank you, Chair Ortiz. So thank you for that last statement, because that was going to be one of my questions. I appreciate that. But second, on the COVID testing, is that for, and I might have missed it in your presentation, it's for employees or is it for travelers?
It started for employees because of just the number of employees we have out here. And we've expanded it to travelers. And so now we use it both for employees and for the traveling public on designated flights, like the Hawaii flights. And there are some destinations that require a negative test upon arrival. Right. We're working with Air India, and we do support them. And Cathay Pacific, most recently, we're trying to get to a branded COVID-free flight where there would be 100% testing for everyone that's on that flight. And we're working on some pilots like that.
Right. And is there a cost for this test for either employees or travelers?
For it, they accept your health care. Okay. It's $240 if you just go off the street without there is a nuance to it that I ran into the other day, but the intent is that they would accept your health care coverage, but they won't accept Kaiser because Kaiser does offer testing.
Kaiser does around. Okay, thank you very much.
On the website exactly the healthcare coverage.
Thank you. Any other members have questions for the director? I see Member Schneider.
Thank you, Chair Sotero. With your reduction of capital improvement, does any of that include any of the electrification or solar activities, which is electrification?
No. You know what happened is I put $100 million aside, and you may know this, for all of our projects to compete in innovative ways to add different sustainability measures to their projects, because we had such a vast array of projects. And then we prioritized that $100 million based on the highest benefit of reduced GHG and energy consumption. And I'm pleased to say we've spent all $100 million. So we don't intend on backing off our environmental initiatives. In fact, our plastic bottle ban expansion to all sweetened drinks will go into effect April 1st of this coming year.
Well, excellent. The same offer I made a few months ago. If you need support for any electrification, which to me is also a noise reduction activity, please let us know so that we can help you with that. And as a commissioner on the statewide Commission for Recycling Markets, yay, good for that. Good luck there.
Thank you. Any other questions from members? I don't see any raised hands. Angela?
I do not see any raised hands.
No raised hands. So then we will open it to the public. Any questions or comments? Actually, any comments from the public? These would not be questions.
We do not have any hands raised from the public either. Thank you, Chair.
Very good. With that, Director Sotero, you said you have some staff members some staff reports?
We do. We have some staff reports. The first one I'll just cover myself, and it was an update on the strategic plan. We are in the last legs of our current 5-year strategic plan. It expires July 1st of next year. And we are now in the process of preparing a new strategic plan. As many of you may be aware, we have a 3-year recovery plan that is our guidebook. And I am of the mind that there is so much uncertainty. It's very difficult to do strategic planning at this point with any kind of reliability. And so we are considering expanding our 3-year recovery plan into our 3-year strategic plan, which will be largely focused on our financial recovery, and then look at our strategic planning later on, our 5-year strategic plan. But as we advance I think we've presented our recovery plan, or maybe portions of this, to this body. We're glad to continue to present our recovery plan. And then I think the other item was on the ADP, and I did mention about the ADP status. So I think we've covered the first one on the agenda. Second item, I'll have to flip over here, is the noise action plan update. Who is doing that? Is that?
That'll be me, Bert from the Aircraft Noise Abatement Office, presenting with Lauren.
Thanks, Bert.
Get your screen up, Lauren. So, welcome to our Aircraft Office Noise Action Plan. Just want to let you know that when we set about creating the Noise Action Plan, we developed 6 categories. And these categories are quieter planes, less nighttime noise, quieter flight procedures, catching the loudest flights, reducing the overall environmental impact, and improving and expanding our noise data. We knew that this needed to be a living document that could handle additions as new ideas were added, as well as marking items unable to proceed. So we'll share twice a year the status of the Noise Action Plan and its projects. We found that it's been somewhat difficult to get reports from the airlines right now. Obviously, they're reducing staff. They're also circling the wagons and tending to what really needs to be done internally. Although we're fostering new relations, so we're not letting this go by. Going forward, we're going to be asking for more accountability from the operators of the A320 series aircraft and the Wake Vortex Generator Program, which we're already reporting on our website, which is part of this Noise Action Plan. And under the Airport Noise Capacity Act of 1990, airports cannot tell airlines what, when, why, or how to operate. However, we can and are asking for reports from the operators to maintain the transparency with our community, informing those interested in quieter aircraft operating at SFO. Just so you know, most aircraft operating at SFO are currently stage 4 and 5, and it's in the 99% range. So we're really fortunate there that we have newer aircraft operating at SFO. Use of the social media is in helping the Roundtable's Fly Quiet program receive more media coverage is on our list of goals. For the nighttime noise, we're finding that we can't really be too aggressive with our airlines at the moment, as I mentioned earlier, but we're still communicating with them. We're also meeting with new persons with whom to be able to work on exceedances. It's our goal to find out that those that are in the weekly top 5 and communicate with them. So we'll be opening that up with staff and growing that program. We're also going to be creating a new Fly Quieter report. Not to be obstinate, but we wanted to do something a little different than the Fly Quiet program. And so we want to delve deeper and see what we can do to find things that we wish to remedy. New and modified procedures will be looked at and advocated for as if they're promising. So as we look into these, on the left, you can see the Oakland Candle and San Francisco Stick departure procedures that overfly the peninsula, both in the day and night. Well, we're advocating for the Oakland Hush and San Francisco Night, which you can see in top middle.
Awesome.
That procedure will go around the peninsula. We're calling it the Night Hush Gobs because it's a combination of the night and hush departures going out to Gobs departure waypoint out off the San Francisco coastline. And just so you know, it does add 25 to 32 miles to the airlines to execute this. So really happy that we're getting some buy-in from this and trying to get it gone through. And the FAA is in the process of evaluating it right now. To the right of that, you see the 050 departures. We're asking that those be used as well, not to the same degree as the night and hush, but to somewhat offload the load on the night and hush, asking that the departures turn right and go down the middle of the bay versus down the peninsula. Helps the community out as well. You can see our talk about opposite direction operations. Well, runway 10 departures aren't always that easy to do. Opposite direction operations indicate a head-to-head operation with an arrival and a departure. Since we use 28 as our primary arrival runway, we do ask that runway 10 be used at night. Can't always do it due to the volume of traffic, but when we do, we're going to be asking that the FAA use a Mullen 8 departure, which turns left as soon as they depart the runway, which you can see by the yellow arrow, versus a city or a SFO departure indicated by the orange arrow that just goes along the shoreline there. Next are 28 arrivals. You can see on the right as they come into the airport there. The offset arrival to 28 right is what we're asking for at night. And those are going to be more of a good relief for the Foster City Redwood shores. Quieter procedures. Well, we need to maintain our good relationships with the FAA to get these, and we intend to do that. Our gap departures that we're going to be working on, we're going to be asking for a little bit of elevation look at by the FAA. And on the current procedure on these departures, it indicates at the coastline, the aircraft is supposed to be at a minimum of 2,106 feet. Well, with the more modern aircraft and things doing better, we're going to be asking that they do a minimum of 3,000 feet at the coast if possible. And this is going to be working with the FAA because the FAA designs their procedures for the least capable aircraft using these departures. And so we would like to be sure that we review this with them, make sure it's safe, and go through with this if we can. GBAS, new and innovative departures are in this category as well as maintaining aircraft on procedure. We'll get into our next slide where we'll talk about more of that. So our Santana Departure, as you can see, is the top left. That one, the heavy portion of the green that goes along the coastline, over the Golden Gate Bridge, and then up the bay, rather than over the city or swinging wide, is what we're advocating for, the darkest portion, trying to get those back onto the published procedure. It helps the folks in San Francisco as well as Marin. The Shoreline Departures, always. We've been after these for years, and we still are after them. Under the RNAV departures, we found that instead of 400 feet elevation before they make the right turn, it's now 520 feet. So it pushes the airplanes a little further out in the community. And if the pilots aren't on it real quick when they get onto the right turn, they get out into the community and versus the industrial areas staying east of Highway 101. We're trying to work more with the FAA and the airlines on this one. Reverse flow, again, this is an issue for Redwood Shores, Foster City, Palo Alto, even San Mateo. Going to be asking more for the Mullen 8 instead of a straight out SFO and city departure so that we can get them out over the bay, get a little altitude, come back in, and maybe be, instead of 1,600 feet to 2,000 feet as they go by Foster City, go around Foster City and be about 4,000 to 5,000 feet by the time they come back over. Our noisiest operations, always. We want to track the noisiest flights at SFO, and we're going to change some of our tactics as we concentrate on the noisiest flights. We're going to work on new methods to share with the airlines and the number of noise reports on their flights are garnering offer to help them rectify these. We'll help the Airlines for America, will help by attending the Airlines for America meeting, which is the industry meeting for airlines, for an information exchange. We're also requesting quarterly meetings with the FAA and airlines to go over trends and information. As far as the environmental impacts go, well, new area for us. We're going to be looking into it more, and we're going to be taking input as well. So we're always looking for things that are new, worthy of implementation in SFO, and we're going to be reaching out and chasing leads here. We thought it worthy to look into what the results, the AEDT, which is the Aviation Environmental Design Tool, emissions portion reports. We use it right now for contours, but might as well start looking at what the AEDT environmental puts out. Discuss that and go over it with our consultants. We're going to create an emissions report for the public on aircraft emissions, as well as reporting on biofuel use, as the director mentioned earlier in the presentation. Our noise office data, well, this is the initial item that was in our program, replacement of our system. The first part, the noise monitors are in place and working, and we're now evaluating the threshold settings. I'm going to be updating how you connect with us and then letting us know you're disturbed with an integrated voice response line. And the SFO noise app that's been released is being tailored based on your comments. We're adding new data points to the Roundtable assigned portable noise monitoring sites and citizen requested sites. Our final page here, we're going to be looking at our timeline. We have 3 periods: the short term, the midterm, and the long term. The short term is being 6 months to a year's time. Midterm is comprised of those projects that we believe will take between 1 and 3 years, and the long term could take as many as 5 years. As you see, we're trying to be flexible, yet meaningful with our program. And I say that because you can see in the green, we talk about what's finished, what's in progress, and then we're going to start some of these when the airline operations return to a more plentiful status due to the effects they have on the airlines. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Bert. And I will open it for questions for membership. And I want to remind everybody that we are running behind. And so I would appreciate, these are very important topics what Bert just brought up. And it's all very exciting, but I want to ask you to please keep your questions short. So any questions from the membership?
We do have 2 hands raised from the members. Member Sam Hindy.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Bert, for your presentation. I see a lot of promising relief for us, I think, in the future coming up. My question when I raised my hand originally was about the timeline, and you covered it in your last slide. So I'm just going to stop it there and thank you, and I will look forward to engaging more at a later time.
Thank you, Member Hindy. Any other questions?
We have Vice Mayor Schneider and Council Member Borgen. Ms. Schneider.
Okay.
Hi, thank you. Want to dive deeper into what Bert produced tonight. Bert, would it be possible to have that same report given at a ground-based noise where we may be able to dive into it a little bit more deeply?
Yes, I'd be happy to.
I'm sorry?
Maybe in a technical working group instead.
Technical working group would be great. Just in general, when I saw everything, it sounds good, but I can't tell what is talking about noise in flight versus possible ground-based noise. So when I hear you talk about noisiest flights, are we talking about the noisiest flights as they fly over various communities, or are we talking about those big heavy flights that take off at between 10 o'clock at night and 2 o'clock in the morning? And I don't want to take up our time now if we can talk about it in more detail at the working group or the technical group or at the ground-based noise group.
Member Schneider, yes, I had a number of questions that I would have asked if we were in a technical working group. Not something for tonight, but there's a lot of those graphs, a lot of those pictures that are very exciting to me, and I would love to ask more questions, but let's, any other questions for Bert? Member Borgens.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you. This is huge, this step that you've taken, and I really appreciate it. And I think I speak for a lot of people in the community that say thank you. So that's all I need to say.
Very good. Okay, I'm going to open it up to members of the public, and I'm going to give you the same caveat there. We are running low on time, and we have plenty to go through. So if you could please keep your comments to this point and short. Thank you. Any members of the public?
Thank you, Chair. We do have 4 members of the public. First is Jennifer, followed by Elizabeth Lopez. Please go ahead and state what city you're calling from. Also accept my invitation and begin speaking. So Jennifer, I'll go to you first. Go ahead.
Hi, thank you. This is Jennifer Landesman from Palo Alto. Bert, thank you for that presentation. It's great to have the framework, and what I really liked seeing is using AEDT for emissions, but also for noise. You know, Volpe had already years ago says that they can map a route, you know, or several procedures in days. It's a matter of hours and days. It's not a matter of years, and with a variety of metrics. And I submitted to the SFO Roundtable the various metrics that can be used because, and it was very frustrating with the GBAS presentation that only a single flight was looked at. And we really need more metrics, and we need data sets of, you know, traffic patterns that are representative of what's experienced on the ground. So I would really focus, I would hope that AEDT is used much more robustly and with more data sets and with more metrics. You might not remember this, but I hope you do. But in one big frustrating moment, I asked what would help Palo Alto, and you said El Nino, which is weather. And GBAS is basically going to allow planes to fly during the times that we often have relief in Palo Alto. So other metrics are really important to kind of show what those, you know, what those changes are. And I'm still frustrated that SFO has not defined negative impact, because there is no definition for that. And communities, I think, are rightly frustrated that this is just all very gray and vague and theoretical. And we could use some noise maps that people could actually speak to. Thank you.
Thanks for your comment. Next, we have Elizabeth Lopez, followed by Peter Grace. Elizabeth, please accept my invitation and begin speaking.
We're not hearing you,
Yeah,
Mr. Grace.
I just got the invitation. Thank you. My question for Bert is, how are you pushing for these departure procedures like the 050? And the reason I ask is because things like this have been on the table for years, and it's my understanding that the FAA already declined like these procedures. And I'm just wondering if there's something new, or there are new tactics being used for something like the, you know, the Oakland Hush or the 050. That we're working towards. And I would really welcome the opportunity, like Ann Schneider says, for a working group to discuss all these things. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lopez.
Thank you. Next, we have Mr. Peter Grace, followed by Mark Scholl. Peter, please accept my invitation and begin speaking.
This is a bit complicated because I'm asking Bert as to whether he can go and put up the flight track map that shows Oakland Hush, Oakland Night. And to be honest, all I can see is a times, you know, a time thing in front of me telling me I've got 1 minute, 50 seconds left. So is it possible to bring it up, or am I so screened out?
Is it possible to put up, I'm sorry, what you want to see, one of his slides that he was talking about?
The flight track map that shows Oakland Hush, Oakland Night.
Okay, are we able to do that and still keep the clock running, Angela? Are we able to put Bert's slide back on?
That was Lauren who showed it. If she has it handy.
Be slide 5.
I can put it up, but I have to take out your clock.
Yeah.
Well,
That's fine. I'll keep the time on my end, and we can display your screen.
Okay, but let's get it moving. So, you know, we're wasting a lot of time here.
Leave this
What
one.
I'd like to refer to is that one in the center, the Oakland Hush SFO night. Unfortunately, it's missing a flight or flights that go off runway 28, turn to the north over Brisbane and join night. They're referred to as night 3, and they've been waking me up. In particular, as a plane ATN 3464, which is coming in at 1:29, 12:34 a.m.
Oh my God.
So it'd be nice to show that indeed these 28-hour flights that are part of night 3 procedure that go over Brisbane on that map. That's my question. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grace.
One
And,
more comment, please.
Yeah, one more from Mark Scholl. Mark, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Very quickly. Bert, I just wanted to check what version of AEDT you're using. I noticed and appreciated that in the GBAS presentation, SFO was using the European BADA system as well. And I know that AEDT 3B incorporates BADA. And the reason I think that's just for members that I think that is the version that should be used is it is way more environmentally sensitive because of the work the Europeans did than the FAA's AEDT by itself. And their environmental office was able to get the BADA system also incorporated in 3B. Hopefully SFO will be adopting that version. Thank you.
Thank you.
Those are all the comments we have.
Very good. Okay. So with that, I thank you for the SFO staff. I appreciate your presentation, Bert, and Mr. Director Sauderu.
We have one more, sir.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't think we have time for it.
We are
Luis Moreno, about 5 minutes.
Yeah,
okay.
I'll tell you what. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Here. You know, we've got our new team here that was going to present. Can I ask you, Luis, Derek, to do like a 1-minute presentation on this and run through the statistics?
And I'm sorry to do that, guys, and maybe we could complete it in the next meeting, but we really are running out of time.
Okay, we'll do it at the next meeting, Chair.
Okay, that's fine. I'm sorry, Mr. Moreno. I see you're all ready to go. I apologize. So, but with that, thank you, Mr. Director. I apologize, but we are running out of time. So thank you. With that, I'm going to move on to item number 8, right? Am I correct? Yes.
Correct.
And that is a presentation from the FAA. I see Mr. Sky Laron, and it was Ms. Garcia with you, Mr. Laron.
Yeah, good evening. Yeah, myself and Fabiola Garcia is here, Senior Advisor to the Western Pacific Regional Administrator.
And there she is.
We also have Joseph Burt on the line, who's one of our analytics team leads. So.
Perfect. Okay, so.
Yep, and I'm just going to move on to what we were talking about in the past. So just a brief history lesson. July 29th, the FAA briefed the Roundtable's technical working group on the night hush, on the increased utilization of the night hush procedures. I think, Chair, you had followed up at the subsequent full forum or Roundtable meeting and discussed that with Roundtable members at that time. On October 7th, the FAA briefed on the Noise Complaint Initiative. So this is our agency noise portal where we're tracking the noise complaints in a very systematic way. So this was 5 years in the making, and on October 7th, we briefed fully to the Roundtable on that new initiative. There was a series of questions that came in from the chair and the administrative specialist, and we just wanted to briefly follow up on that. In terms of night hush, we do have an update. We've made it to the SHPO consultation, section 106. So what that is pursuant to the National Historic Preservation Act, we have begun the Section 106 consultation with the State of California Historic Properties Office to consider the potential effects of the proposed federal action on historic properties listed in or eligible for listing in the National Register of Historic Places. Okay, so that's one piece of our environmental review that we moved into, that phase. So I wanted to update this body on that. Then regarding the questions that came in for the noise complaint initiative, again, that's noise.faa.gov/noise. It'll take you right there. But a lot of these questions were very specific, and I would say almost airport specific. And we are right now in the beginning phases of our partnership with SFO as a partner airport with that NCI noise portal. So I just wanted to update the roundtable. That's where we're at. The chair has, the full responses in email, and I'm sure he could share that with members in the group. So thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Wonderful, thank you. We do have the full response, and it is, Ms. Michelle, it is posted to our website. Is that correct? You're muted.
We got the responses to our 45-day request on Night Hush and the Noise Complaint Initiative on Monday, November the 30th. Too late to be included in the agenda packet, but we will post it with the minutes.
Very good. And Ms. Garcia, did you have something else to add, or are we? Nope. Okay, very good. So are we going to take questions? You guys are not prepared for questions?
No, not at this time.
Very good. Okay. With that, then I will take any comments from the membership. We cannot ask questions, but we certainly can comment. So are there any comments from the membership?
I think it's important maybe for the membership to understand that the questions that were asked were on Night Hush, the location and noise decibel level of flight paths incorporated by the FAA modified proposal. That was part of it. Nighttime hours included in the Night Hush, and environmental review status and update. And then the second was on the Noise Complaint Initiative, more information about the SFO partner, the location of the predefined area, the plan for avoiding conflicting and contradictory messaging, what public information will be shared, clarifying FAA policy, not responding to the same general complaint or inquiry from the same individual more than once, and providing timely response to aircraft noise and inquiries. What is the time to respond? And so the answers to that, which is in their letter, will be posted.
Very good. Okay. Once again, do you have any members that want to comment on the FAA response? And I think that there's two very distinct responses, is what we have heard verbally tonight versus what was provided in writing, which frankly have not had a chance to review. Anyway, with that, I will, if there's no comments, we'll open it to the public for their comments. Do we have any raised hands? No, then let's move on to the members of the public.
I do have one member of the public hands raised. This person is Ms. Elizabeth Lopez.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Lopez.
Yes, I'm wondering if anybody can ask the FAA to go into more detail about their environmental review process, because this is an over water procedure and it's not going over anyone's home, upon departure. And because they're mentioning historic properties, and these flights aren't going to be over any of these historic properties, or even probably within a mile of these historic properties at a high altitude. So it'd be great to know about their environmental review process, if they have noise monitors placed somewhere, where exactly they're located, and how comparable the process they're using there is to other reviews they've conducted in the Bay Area. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lopez. We have noted your comments, and we'll likely include them in our next questions to the FAA. Thank you for that. Any other members of the public?
That's all we have.
Very good. Okay. Thank you to the members of the FAA for being here tonight. I appreciate your comments. And with that, we will be moving to item number 9. Am I doing this right? Yes, item number 9, which is our ad hoc committee recommendations on the strategic plan and workforce program. At the direction of the membership, an ad hoc committee was formed at the October meeting to develop a recommended 4-year strategic plan and a work plan to govern the remaining 7 months of the fiscal year ending June 2021. 7 members of the roundtable volunteered and met 3 times for that purpose. Included in your packet, starting on page 32, are background documents that guided the ad hoc committee in its work, including the member survey results to questions of the roundtable, accomplishments, roundtable value to the community we serve, and service improvements the roundtable could make. A summary of the public responses to the survey are included on page 33 of your packet, and the survey results are attached for your review. At the highest level, the subjects are included in the proposed strategic plan and work plan except one. The result of the effort is the proposed strategic plan on page 45 of your packet and the 7-month work plan on page 50 of your packet. I will say overall the changes in tone of the documents were clearly to focus on outcomes and measurable results, to hold our partner agencies more accountable, to advocate for our communities, to increase effectiveness on the roundtable. The subcommittee realizes that the work plan may contain more items than can be successfully accomplished in 7 months, but given the upcoming change in federal administration, the opportunity for new introduction of legislation, and the activities going on at SFO and FAA, these reach goals, some of which are discussed with the new fiscal year 21-22, effective July 1st, 2021. The goal for today is for membership to review the draft strategic plan and work plan and make changes as needed. Then I hope to approve both documents and ideally get members to commit to helping with tasks. Do any ad hoc subcommittee members want to speak about the process, outcome, or content? Do non-members have questions or comments? So first, let me step back. We met, we had some great conversation. We came up with some great priorities. There was a lot of discussion, and this is what we arrived at based on the results. So any members of the subcommittee want to make comments on our conversations? Okay, so any questions from people who were not on the subcommittees? Okay, so now there are some members that are dropping off, and we do need volunteers to take up some of the subcommittees that are still. So the legislative subcommittee, we have a big void, a big vacuum left by my friend Janet. So I would love for somebody who's interested in continuing with her efforts, if somebody would like to volunteer, that would be great. So do I have any volunteers tonight? Excuse me. Any volunteers for the legislative subcommittee? That's probably one of the most important things right now.
Through the chair, could you remind us who's continuing on, who's on the Ledge Committee? I think it's myself and Terry, but I could be wrong.
You know what, Member Snyder, I don't have that information in front of me, but I believe that is correct. So you have...
The list that I have is Janet C., the other Janet, Ann S., and maybe Sue D. Does that sound right? Sue.
No, Sue D would have been from the past. That's Sue
Yeah,
D.
that's an old list, likely.
Mr. Chair, I'll volunteer to be on the committee.
Great, thank you. That is wonderful news.
Member DiGiovanni has her hand raised.
Member DiGiovanni, Legislative Committee.
Yay.
Member DiGiovanni, we can't hear you, so are you unmuted?
Okay, thank you. Through the chair, I was going to volunteer for legislative, but I had trouble with the muting.
Okay, that's fine. I'll take you even if you can't unmute. So,
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Michelle, what were the other volunteer opportunities so we can try to get some others?
When you look on page 34 of your packet, the work plan tasks are highlighted there if you adopt your strategic plan and work plan today. So it looks like there is a number of actions for the technical working group and the legislative group. So I think there also might be an opportunity.
Why don't we do it in a little different order? I think we have the legislative committee pretty well taken care of. We just need to select the chair. But let's do this. Why don't we make comments and then we can take a vote on the work plan and the strategic plan. So with that, I'm going to open it to members of the roundtable. If you have any comments or any questions about the two documents. And again, especially those who participated in the process, I would be interested for you guys to share your thoughts on how that went.
Harry O'Connell has her hand raised.
Great. Member O'Connell.
Hi. I really wanted to thank everyone for the work they did on this document and how collaborative it was. I think that we tried to address as many of the roundtable members' concerns in a logical way. And I think that it was, well discussed, and I really applaud the group for how much give and take there was on it. I will go ahead and volunteer for the technical working group at this point, and I urge all of our members to approve this document.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Do we have any other hands?
Through the chair?
Yes.
I would say it was a great process. I'm a happy clam that we now have in many areas, both the local close-in airport effects as well as the in-flight effects. So I'm very happy. I encourage everyone to vote for the strategic plan.
Thank you very much. And if we don't have any other hands, then I'm gonna, Michelle, do we have any, or Angela, do we have any other hands? None? If we don't have any other hands, then let's open it up to the public comment. Do we have any members of the public that wish to comment?
No, we do not, Chair.
Very good. With that, then I bring it back to the membership and I would entertain a motion.
So moved, Janet.
Have a motion.
Second, Terry O'Connell.
Motion by member Borgen, second by member O'Connell, and let's do the roll call.
City and County of San Francisco Mayor's Office. Ed McCaffrey. No response. Ivar Satoro.
Aye.
Thank you. Supervisor Pine.
Yes.
Thank you. Carol Ford.
Yes.
Thank you. Davina Hurt.
Yes.
Thank you. Terry O'Connell.
Yes.
Thank you. Chair Ortiz.
Absolutely, yes.
Pamela Giovanni.
Yes.
Thank you. Sam Handy.
Yes.
Thank you. Al Royce.
Yes.
Thank you. Cecilia Taylor.
Yes.
Thank you. Ann Schneider.
Yes.
Thank you. Ann Weingart.
Yes.
Thank you. Janet Borgens.
Yes.
Thank you. Mark Adiago.
Yes.
Thank you. Tom Livermore.
Yes.
Thank you. Your motion passes with 15 votes.
Wonderful. Thank you all. Appreciate that. And then now we can move to, and again, I'm having trouble with my slides here. So,
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I'm wondering if we might be able to move up item 12, which is the nomination of the new vice chair. I unfortunately need to leave the meeting, and I was hoping I could participate in that.
Very, very good. Let me just wrap this one up real quick. Actually, we can hold off on asking for volunteers, and I actually can do that over the phone probably a little more effectively. So I will, you will be hearing from me. Stand by. So with that, we have the approval. Michelle, other than getting volunteers, we ready to move on? We are. Very good. Okay.
Yes.
So with that, if everybody is okay with it, we are going to move to item, back to this over here.
It's 12.
Item 12, which is the nomination of the replacement of my good friend Ann Wingert. So with that, we are, again, looking for a new vice chair for the next, is it a 2-year term or would be just to finish Ann's term? I'm assuming it's a 2-year term. But with that, I will open the floor to 2-year term. Very good. We will open the floor to nominations. If anybody's interested in nominating somebody, I'd be happy to hear the nominations.
Mr. Chair, it'd be my privilege to nominate Councilmember Sam Hindi to serve as vice chair. He is, we served together on the Select Committee on South Bay Arrivals, and he's been a very active and effective member of this committee, and I think he would be great support to you and the team.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Oh, that's wonderful. Okay, so before we move on, are there any other nominations? And having no more nominations, then we will open it to a vote. Do we need to do a roll call? I guess we do need to do a roll call on this one.
And one thing that I was checking is I think the bylaws on this is only a 1-year commitment.
No, don't let them off the hook. Don't let them off the hook.
And I can't find it on immediately because I'm nervous. But I do think it's a 1-year commitment.
Okay,
So we do it anyway.
So
with that,
Hindi, you're good with 1 year, I'm assuming, and you're okay with accepting the nomination?
Mr. Chair, I'm honored. Thank you, Supervisor Pine, and I'm happy to serve alongside you, Mr. Chair, and every member on this board.
I really appreciate that. So with that, we will take a roll call vote.
Member McCaffrey.
We seem to have lost Edward.
Member Satoro.
Aye.
Thank you. Supervisor Pine.
Yes.
Thank you. Member Ford.
Yes.
Thank you. Member Hurt.
Yes.
Thank you. Member O'Connell.
Yes.
Thank you. Member Ortiz.
Yes.
Thank you. Member Di Giovanni.
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you. Member Hindi.
Yes.
Thank you. Member Royce.
Yes.
Thank you. Member Taylor.
Yes.
Thank you. Member Schneider.
Yes.
Member Weingart.
And Wingert.
Yes.
Thank you. Member Borgens.
Yes.
Thank you. Member Adiago.
Yes.
Member Livermore.
Yes.
Thank you. Your motion passes.
Wonderful. Thank you. Congratulations, Mr. Member Hindi, or Vice Chair Hindi. I look forward to working with you. Appreciate you stepping up. So, and Supervisor Pine, thank you for holding out for us. I know you need to go, and I appreciate you making time for us. So appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, now I'm completely lost. So now I'm going back to item number 10.
Correct.
So that is, I'm going to pass it on to my friend, the Vice Mayor of Millbrae, Ms. Ann Schneider.
Well, I will do my best to try to make this quick. And Justin, you and I haven't had a chance to talk, but I think I'm going to pass a lot of this over to you. I want to thank the members of the Ground-Based Noise Committee and staff. We had a meeting, we reviewed the protocols to go into a modeling project for ground-based noise. 3 cities, Burlingame, Hillsborough, and Millbrae, were asked if they had any additional data to provide for the model, which basically means any new structures that might be built that may absorb and or bounce noise. I believe that information was given to Justin. And Justin, can I put you on a spot to give us just a brief update, because you were going to start the project either the day before Thanksgiving or this week? But yay, any way that you look at it.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Thank you, Anne. We have started. We have collected information from those cities, also San Bruno as well.
Oh, good.
And that includes not just building footprints and GIS information, but also potential receiver locations. So we've gathered all that information. The model is pretty much ready to go, and we should be running things here shortly. And we're looking to get some draft results to you within the next week or two for your review, and hopefully a draft that includes like a technical report by the holidays.
And I just want to say thank you to Justin, Michelle, Angela, Linda, and Al, Ricardo, and myself. It's been a great teamwork the last couple of months. It's pretty exciting.
I would say it's a little more than months, but thank you very much. And
well, months and months, but just for this particular study, it's just been, a lot has been moving and happening even in the time of COVID. So I thank you all.
But I appreciate your enthusiasm with this item and getting us moved forward. I think it's something that's really big for the city of Burlingame, Millbrae, Hillsborough, and I would say San Bruno. So this is really important. I think this is something where we show our value as an organization here. Thank you very much.
And Chair, I think Michelle had her hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry, Michelle.
Just quickly, one thing that I wanted to pass along in my conversations with Justin, he mentioned that he's starting to get inquiries from different locations throughout, I don't know what the area is, people very interested in this report that we're doing, that because it's specific to an airport, it's unusual. People are excited about it. And the fact that the last reports that were done were so long ago, this is going to be considered cutting edge amongst other airports, I guess.
Sounds good. Good to be trailblazers. That's wonderful.
Chair, could I also say to the rest of the membership, one of the things that makes this kind of exciting, additionally exciting, is our unique topography, our mountains, our valleys, the way noise may move up through these different types of topography and structures in the way. It is, from a science perspective, really cool.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you very much. That's really exciting, again, for me personally, because I have been involved with this ground-based noise subcommittee since its inception. It's great to see the finally bearing fruit. It's wonderful. Thank you, Member Snyder, and thank you, Justin, for all your hard work. With that, we will now move on to item 11, which is our technical working group. We had the meeting, and again, it's one of those items that can only be done properly in a technical working group, because it does take time to listen to it and to get the information. We had a great presentation about GBAS. We were able to ask all kinds of questions. We saw all kinds of pictures and graphs, and I think we had some issues with the possibility of noise shifting that we brought up. And but all in all, I'm very excited about what GBAS is going to bring and how it is going to impact us. Again, the other issue that was brought up was the air brakes, which I think that we need to address a little more. But all in all, a great meeting, and I appreciate the air staff for the thorough presentation. And again, when we do it in that setting, it makes it so that we can ask all the technical questions and we can get into it, and you don't have the chair rushing you off. So it's a whole different environment. So keep in mind, if you're interested in the details of GBAS, we will have a follow-up meeting. And there, with that, I'll open it up to questions, the comments from many of the members that were there.
I'm sorry, Chair Ortiz, I do want to mention that we did not take public comment for the GBN item.
I apologize, and I do need to go back and do that. I apologize. So let's So I'm going back to the prior item, and we're going to open to public comment for the ground-based subcommittee.
Thank you, Chair. I do not see any hands raised for this
There
item.
wasn't any, yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you, Angela, for keeping me honest. I appreciate that. I'm trying to follow directions. I'm usually not that good. So now I'm opening it up to the members of the roundtable that have any questions or any comments. So it's particularly from those who were there, if you have any comments, any observations about the technical working group. Do I have any hands raised? No hands raised?
No members. There is an attendee, Mark Scholl.
Very good. I'm looking forward to hearing Mr. Schultz. So, but no members of the roundtable. So I'm going to close it up and we'll open it to the members of the public, and we'll start with Mr. Schultz.
Thank you. Mr. Scholl, please accept my request and begin speaking.
Thank you, Mark Shaw, Palo Alto. I remain concerned that GBAS is being deployed without meaningful input from those communities most affected. First, the overlay is not just a one-for-one overlay and will increase noise, particularly for Palo Alto and Bellhaven. And SFO should have included the overlay in its commitment to gaining community approval. Futures are great, but right now, what I think is most concerning us is the overlay itself, because it's going in as we speak. We know it will be more concentrated. We don't know how much more. We know that the transition eddy will be noisy. We don't know much more about it. We don't understand why the surfer design teams and the GBAS teams are not working together. Does the overlay purposely mirror all of the noise problems that the ILS creates, or can this segment be made smoother since localizer capture is no longer needed? We really don't know much about what's going on. We have submitted detailed questions and hope we will get answers soon. I don't know exactly when the GBAS program at SFO was started, but the demonstration trials with actual airplanes and landings was in 2016. That's almost 5 years ago, and we still only have minimal detail. The technical working group meeting is appreciated, but it was still very high level and vague on many of these key details, and none of the communities directly under GBAS arrivals are on that working group. I'm again asking SFO to interact directly with those communities most affected by GBAS and to increase the level of detail in the information provided, particularly related to the overlay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Scholl. And we will try to get some answers to your questions for the next technical working group. And I do appreciate your involvement in this because your questions are very helpful. Do we have any other comments?
Yeah, one more hand raise. We have Jennifer Landerson.
Okay, please.
Go ahead, Jennifer.
Hi, thank you. My concern is with the item that a categorical exclusion has been supposedly already issued by the FAA, but there's no information on the IFP gateway. And there's no way first, I don't think that the CADEX is appropriate, but that's just my personal opinion, but nobody knows, as Mr. Scholl just mentioned, what the impacts are going to be. And the stakeholders in this whole process are people who will be affected. And the only way we can know that is if you actually do projections, which the FAA has a process for. And way back when the GBAS conversation started, we asked about the J100, the .41 process. And if the community engagement officers from the FAA are listening, basically what this looks like is that the airport is doing a project which says we're not going to do anything bad. But once the switch is turned on with a CADEX, the switch is not going off. And where's the agreement? We've seen that verbal agreements do not amount to anything. Will the airlines commit to turning the switch off if there is negative impact once we actually have a definition for negative impact? A lot of problems in terms of the environmental review process, the FAA's own processes. And it really just throws the whole idea of community engagement, into the waste bin if we can't get this right, and also the southern arrivals, which should happen, does have an environmental review process and should happen before GBAS. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. And do we have any other public comment?
That was all.
Very good. Okay. We will go back with that. Again, we will have a follow-up to this technical working group. And I believe, do we have that scheduled for January or? I don't remember if we have it, but stand by because we will have it, Mr. Scholl. We will give you opportunity.
That was my communication with Bert. Bert was that I would love to hold a subcommittee meeting in January, and then we'll report back in February. I think he was going to talk to his consultant, see if that's going to work for them. And it might be interesting to bring up the Airport Commission meeting yesterday and the questions that kind of came out of that. I'm not sure whether that the outcome of that was clear, or we could talk about that in a subcommittee meeting.
I think we probably want to hold off and talk about that at the subcommittee meeting. So right now the subcommittee meeting is scheduled. It has not been scheduled, but if we're targeting somewhere in February, correct?
January.
January. Okay, very good. Okay, with that, I am moving on to item 13, which is member communications or announcements. So members, do you have any communications or any announcements?
Yes, Chairman, Chair Ortiz.
Yes, Member Livermore.
I do have an announcement. I am no longer will be on the Woodside Town Council as of December 8th, having my term having been expired. And as a result, I will not be participating anymore in the roundtable. I've very much enjoyed the last 2 years. I've learned a lot. Obviously, not gotten involved as much in the subcommittees, but I really appreciate all the work that everybody has been doing, and I'm sure that the mayor will appoint a member who, town council member who will be involved with you in the future meetings.
Well, Member Livermore, I just want to say thank you for your service. I really appreciate you having you here. And for those of us who do this, we understand how much work it is and how much you have contributed. So thank you for that, and best of luck. Thank you. Any other member announcements or comments?
Through the chair?
Yes.
My hand's up. I see you can't see our hands.
Well, your video's not on. Oh, I see. I can't see the hands. You're correct. I cannot.
My connection is a little weak. I forgot to bring it up when we did do the strategic plan, but the one thing that we talked about that needs to come back at some point is whether or not to look at adding emissions to the scope of work of the roundtable. And I don't know what the process might be for that. It might be waiting for 2021-22 work plan. We talked about it at the last strategic plan working group meeting, and I just forgot to bring that up.
Right, and I think that we did discuss that, and I think that we will probably have to table that for the next session. But we have limited time, as today is evidence, right? Because we run out of time on these meetings, and we can only do so many subcommittees and working groups. So we have to, and then we also are stretching our staff, who are really 2 part-time people who we share. So I hate to say no to things, because it would be great to take on all these wonderful missions, but I think we have to limit it, and I think we arrived at the issues that we have limited to this year. So when we sit down and have that conversation again, I'd love to hear your input then.
Well, and I had thought that maybe Michelle was reminding us by putting the MOU in the packet that was because we know when we do start looking at this, we probably have to change the MOU. Is that correct, Michelle?
That's correct.
Okay. Then it's for a future item. I just don't want it to be forgotten. The reason I keep bringing up emissions is it gives us an additional tool in our toolkit to affect change. And it was exciting to hear from the noise group talking about how they consider emissions as something, and I've been reading up on a couple of slightly different realm, climate change, and this discussion looking at leaf blowers considers noise a subset of air pollution. That was a new way of looking at things.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Well, I would love to hear more about that. So one of these days we're going to have to go have coffee like we've been talking about for 2 years.
For 5 years, I think. But yeah, and we're so far away from each other.
I know, really. Okay,
someday
guys,
when we can have coffee
so
again.
with that, I hate to keep you guys all up. It's already 9:20, and I apologize that it went long. Once again, to my friend Ann, to my friend Janet, and to my friend Tom, thank you for your service. Thank you for your participation. We will really miss all of you, and please come visit us. And if you have some comments or everyone, if we're not doing our job, please remind us, just like Sue will do once in a while. With that, I will say good night to all, and thank you all for your staying up so late, and we'll see you. And thank you, Member Hindi or Vice Chair Hindi. A lot to work with.
Holidays to everyone.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Thank
Keep safe.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Ortiz.
Yeah.
Bye.